Welcome back everyone to our channel. Are you a coin collector or just someone who stumbled upon an old 1992 D1 cent coin in your pocket change and wondered if it could be worth more than its face value? Well, what if I told you that this humble penny, a coin most people would overlook or even toss aside, could actually be worth up to $3,000 or more? Yes, that's not a typo or exaggeration, because within the world of coin collecting, certain error coins, like the 1992 D Lincoln cent with specific varieties and minting mistakes, can command staggering prices at auctions and through private collectors who understand the immense rarity and historical importance behind such a piece. While the face value remains a mere 1 cent, the true value of this coin lies deep within its production quirks, anomalies, and the limited number of such errors in existence, making it one of the most sought-after finds in the entire Lincoln cent series. So how exactly does a 1 cent coin minted in Denver in 1992 transform into a highly prized collectible worth thousands? The key lies in identifying the rare variant of the 1992 D AM cent, which was minted using a reverse die intended for the 1993 design, where the A and M in America on the reverse are spaced very closely together, as opposed to the normal 1992 cent where the A and M have a noticeable gap. This close AM variety is an extremely rare transitional error that occurred when dies for the upcoming design were prematurely used in the prior year's coinage, a mistake so subtle that many coins went unnoticed in circulation until collectors with a keen eye and a strong magnifying lens began spotting the anomaly years later. While the Philadelphia Mint version of the 1992 AM is also rare, the Denver minted 1992 D AM is significantly scarcer, with only a few confirmed specimens in existence, thus making it a holy grail in the Lincoln cent error variety realm. What makes it even more intriguing is the fact that this error is so minuscule and easy to miss, causing millions of these coins to circulate without anyone recognizing their immense value. Imagine a single penny tossed in change or dropped under a vending machine, potentially being worth as much as a luxury vacation, a used car, or a down payment on a house. That's the fascinating paradox of numismatics, the art and science of coin collecting, where even the smallest and most overlooked items can tell stories of historical mishaps, human error, and the constant evolution of minting technology. Beyond the AM reverse, collectors often look for other potential errors in the 1992 D Lincoln cents that can add significant value, such as double dies, off-center strikes, die cracks, couds, and more. Each of these anomalies represents a break from the perfection the U.S. Mint strives to maintain, and ironically, it is in these imperfections where the real treasure lies. A double die, for instance, can result in Lincoln's profile, the inscriptions, or the date appearing to be duplicated or shadowed, an error caused when the coin die is struck more than once out of alignment. Off-center strikes result from the coin blank being improperly positioned, producing coins with missing or shifted designs that become instantly noticeable and collectible. Then, there are die cracks and cuds, raised metal blobs caused by breaks in the die or pieces breaking off entirely, which create unique patterns on the coin surface and are like snowflakes, no two ever quite alike. Even repunched mint marks, where the D from Denver might appear stamped multiple times due to human intervention before the switch to machine punching, are tiny details that eagle-eyed collectors treasure. But above all, the 1992 D AM stands tall as the marquee rarity, one that serious collectors drool over and rookie hobbyists dream of finding. What amplifies the allure of this coin is how its discovery story unfolded. The first confirmed 1992 D AM coin didn't make headlines until years after it had already been in circulation, meaning that for nearly a decade or more, no one even knew such a variant existed. That means millions of people may have unknowingly spent a potential fortune on a gumball or coffee, never realizing they held a numismatic jackpot in their palm. As word of the variant spread, collectors began checking every 1992D penny under microscopes, loupes, and magnifiers in hopes of spotting the telltale closeness of the AM in America. The prices skyrocketed as authenticated examples sold for thousands, and suddenly, the humble 1992D cent transformed from pocket change to prized possession. The rarity stems not just from the mistake itself but from how few of these dies were likely used, and how even fewer coins survived the decades in collectible condition. Factors such as coin grade, luster, lack of circulation wear, and even the strength of the strike play a major role in determining just how much a particular specimen might fetch at auction. High-grade examples certified by reputable grading companies like PCGS or NGC have set the highest records, sometimes exceeding $3,000, especially when the coin is in mint state and shows minimal handling or wear. And since these coins are still out there, possibly lurking in penny jars, bankrolls, or old collections passed down through families, there's an ongoing treasure hunt among collectors and enthusiasts who know what to look for. The thrill of the chase and the possibility of turning an ordinary cent into a life-changing find make this a compelling journey, not only for seasoned numismatists, but also for everyday people just curious about what hidden gems they might own. In addition to the 1992 Close AM, the world of Lincoln cents is filled with other transitional and design errors that have proven to be gold mines for collectors, from the 1999 White AM to the 1983 Double Die Reverse, and even the famous 1955 Double Die Obverse. But what sets the 1992D apart is the sheer rarity, the incredible value potential, and the fact that so few people are even aware of its existence. It's not the kind of error that leaps out at you with massive visual disruptions. Rather, it's a quiet mistake, a barely noticeable anomaly that only reveals its worth to those who know exactly what to look for and have the patience to sift through thousands of coins to find it. And therein lies the beauty of coin collecting. It rewards the diligent, the curious, and the detail-oriented. If you're wondering how to check your 1992D penny, start by flipping it over and examining the word America. Under magnification, look at the spacing between the A and M. If there is virtually no gap, you might be holding the rare close AM variety. Then compare the rest of the reverse with known diagnostics, like the shape and position of the FG initials of designer Frank Gasparo near the base of the memorial, and consider sending it to a reputable grading service for authentication. Keep in mind, even the discovery of a damaged or partially worn example could still bring you hundreds, or even thousands if it's verified. So don't throw away that old penny just yet, because its hidden secrets could be far more valuable than you think. Coin collecting is as much about history and craftsmanship as it is about value. Each error tells a story. Each variation speaks of a moment when something didn't go exactly as planned, and each collector who finds one becomes a part of that story. The 1992 Close AM cent is one of the crown jewels of modern U.S. coin errors, and its $3,000 valuation is a testament to how a tiny oversight at the U.S. Mint turned into one of the most exciting and rewarding rarities in American numismatic history. So if you want to uncover more such treasures, dive into your collection, grab your magnifier, and start hunting, because your next penny might just be your big payday. If you found this video helpful or interesting, don't forget to like and subscribe for more rare coin discoveries, collecting tips, and valuable insights that could turn your pocket change into serious cash. Next, 1994 Lincoln penny. Today's episode dives deep into the hidden world of one of the most fascinating and unexpectedly valuable pennies ever to leave the Denver Mint, the 1994 Lincoln 1-cent coin, a seemingly ordinary coin that could be hiding in your pocket, a drawer, an old jar, or forgotten coin roll, yet thanks to a variety of errors, production flaws, and minting mistakes, It has been known to reach values up to $433 or even more, making it a hot topic among collectors, enthusiasts, and everyday people who dream of turning pocket change into a profitable discovery. And as we begin this in-depth exploration, prepare to be amazed at the multitude of reasons why the 1994 D penny is so much more than its humble face value. Because while millions were minted and distributed into circulation as part of normal business operations, only a very small number carry the unique traits and abnormalities that cause their value to soar. And the only way to truly understand why some of these coins are worth hundreds is to take a deep look at the errors and mistakes that occurred during the minting process, the historical circumstances of production, the flaws that emerged due to die wear and mechanical failure, and the physical characteristics that collectors hunt for when determining whether a coin has numismatic value far exceeding its denomination. So let's begin by discussing the specific environment at the Denver Mint during the early 1990s, when the United States Mint was under pressure to produce billions of coins rapidly to meet nationwide demand. And with this push for volume came an inevitable trade-off in quality control, which meant that many coins left the facility with minor to major flaws, many of which went unnoticed until years later, when numismatists and roll hunters began to identify and catalog the error varieties that would ultimately elevate the status of coins, like the 1994 D penny, from everyday currency to collectible rarity. And one of the most talked about and valuable types of error found on the 1994 D cent is the doubled die, specifically when doubling is found on Lincoln's ear, eyes, or the lettering of Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and the date itself. And doubling happens during the die creation process, when the working die receives multiple impressions from the master die that are not perfectly aligned, causing elements of the design to appear duplicated or shadowed on the finished coin. And collectors prize bold doubled dies, especially when certified by major grading companies like PCGS, NGC, or Annex, which not only confirm the authenticity of the error but also assign it a numerical grade based on condition, with higher grade examples of these doubled die 1994 D pennies regularly commanding hundreds of dollars, and sometimes well beyond the $433 range depending on the strength of the doubling and the grade. And then there are off-center strikes, another common but visually dramatic type of mint error, which occurs when the coin blank is not properly centered between the dies during the strike, leading to a coin where part of the design is missing and a crescent-shaped blank space is left visible. And these off-center errors vary in value depending on the degree of off-centering, with coins showing 10% to 15% off-center often worth modest premiums. But those struck 40% or more off-center, with the date and mint mark still visible, are significantly rarer and far more valuable, often exceeding the $433 mark when found in decent condition. And the visual appeal of a sharply off-center penny is strong among collectors who enjoy error coins that immediately stand out. And that's not the only striking error to look for on 1994 D cents, as broad strikes are another important possibility, which happen when the retaining collar that shapes the coin's edge fails, allowing the metal to spread out more than intended during the strike, producing a coin that's wider and flatter than normal, often missing its reeded or formed rim and appearing soft around the edges. And if the date and mint mark are fully intact and the coin is in a decent grade, a 1994 D broad-struck cent can bring significant collector interest, particularly if it's paired with a dramatic example of another error. And die cracks and cuds also make this coin extremely collectible when present, as die cracks appear as raised lines caused by breaks in the die itself, running across parts of the coin in jagged or curved formations, sometimes subtle and sometimes extending dramatically across the coin. And cuds, which are large blobs or areas of metal where the die has broken off and left an unstruck void, are among the most desirable die failure types, with collectors especially interested in coins showing cuds on the rim, near the portrait of Lincoln, or in conjunction with lettering or the date. And when a cut appears in a prominent location on a well-preserved 1994 D penny, its value can easily exceed $433 and sometimes go much higher at auction or in private sales, especially if the error is well-centered and visually appealing, and struck-through errors represent another intriguing class of mistakes that can add to the coin's value, and these occur when debris like grease, wire, string, or even bits of cloth or tape interfere with the striking process, leaving behind strange textures, indentations, or missing details on the coin surface. And depending on the shape, size, and placement of the struck-through area, collectors may pay a premium for 1994 D cents showing this unusual phenomenon, particularly if the obstruction caused partial loss of design features like Lincoln's face or key inscriptions. And then there's the fascinating realm of repunched mint marks, or RPMs, which are a result of the mint mark being punched more than once into the die at slightly different angles. And these anomalies create a shadow or doubled look on the mint mark, in this case the D for Denver, and while subtle RPMs might only bring modest premiums, bold examples that are easily seen under low magnification and show clear separation between punches are highly collectible and can push a coin's value over the $433 mark when certified. And rotated die errors also add to the story, where the obverse and reverse dies are misaligned during striking, causing the designs on each side to be out of sync when the coin is flipped. And while rare, 1994 D examples with a 30-degree or greater rotation are extremely collectible and can bring in high prices from enthusiasts who love these dramatic mechanical mishaps. And in rare cases, some 1994 D cents have been found struck on incorrect planchets, meaning a blank intended for another denomination, such as a dime or foreign coin, was accidentally used in the press, and these wrong planchet errors result in coins that are either too small, too light, or have different coloration or metal composition, and when authenticated, such mistakes become major fines, often worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars due to their extreme rarity and crossover appeal among collectors of both error coins and unusual mint products. And die clashes, where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet in between, leaving behind ghost-like impressions of one side's design onto the other, have also been found on the 1994 D cent. And while some are minor, dramatic die clashes can command attention and push a coin's value up substantially, especially when elements like Lincoln's profile can be seen mirrored on the reverse or vice versa, creating a hauntingly beautiful minting anomaly that tells a story of mechanical chaos frozen in time. And perhaps one of the most underappreciated yet increasingly popular categories is transitional errors, which happen when a coin is struck using design elements or planchets from a previous or following year. And while not widely documented for 1994 D, such errors are theoretically possible and would represent a major discovery if found and authenticated, as these transitional pieces tend to be highly coveted by collectors due to their role in illustrating changes in minting technology or design policy. And all of these possibilities combine with the coin's natural history to make the 1994 D penny a compelling target for roll hunters, collectors, and treasure seekers, especially given the fact that billions were made and circulated widely, meaning valuable error coins are potentially still sitting unnoticed in change jars, drawers, and bank rolls across the country, and condition plays a major role in determining value as well, with most circulated coins showing wear and commanding lower prices. Next, 2015 1 cent USA coin. Get ready to have your mind completely blown by what might be one of the most astonishing and unexpected stories in the entire world of coin collecting, because we are about to reveal the shocking truth behind the 2015 1 cent USA coin that has skyrocketed in value and is now worth a jaw-dropping $400, all due to its unique and rare minting mistakes that have turned this seemingly ordinary modern penny into a massive payday for lucky collectors and treasure hunters across the country and possibly even around the world, and this is no exaggeration, because the 2015 Lincoln penny, which you probably never gave a second thought to, could in fact be hiding an incredible secret that transforms it from mere pocket change into a numismatic marvel worth hundreds of dollars. And with the rise of awareness around mint errors and varieties that occurred in recent years, collectors are now scouring their jars of change, rolls from the bank, and even old coin collections in search of these rare 2015 era coins that have already made headlines and stunned experts at coin shows and auctions. And what makes this coin especially fascinating is that it's not an ancient relic nor a silver coin from the distant past, but rather a copper-plated zinc penny minted in the modern age, with a standard face value of 1 cent. And yet, its extreme value is driven entirely by the range of unusual minting mistakes that occurred during its production year, with these errors ranging from minor anomalies to bold dramatic flaws that have left experienced collectors amazed and ready to pay top dollar for examples that showcase the clearest and most desirable error features. And to understand how a modern penny can command such a huge premium, we need to dive into the fascinating world of minting errors that include, but are not limited to, double dies, die clashes, off-center strikes, broad strikes, planchet flaws, couds, misaligned dies, and even transitional features that occurred in the midst of changing die states. And when it comes to the 2015 Lincoln set, all of these errors and more have been identified, cataloged, and fiercely pursued by experts who know exactly how rare and valuable a coin can become when it bears one or more of these error types. And one of the most famous error types on the 2015 penny is the double die obverse, where close inspection under magnification reveals obvious doubling in the lettering, such as Liberty the Date and I In God We Trust, and in the most sought-after examples. This doubling is not subtle or hard to see, but bold, dramatic, and clearly visible even without high-powered tools, making it one of the most desirable double die varieties of the modern era. And when these coins are found in mint state or higher grades, with little to no where their value skyrockets, because the clearer the doubling and the better the coin's condition, the more collectors are willing to pay for them. And this is just the beginning, because other examples of the 2015 penny have been discovered with significant off-center strikes where the coin is not properly aligned in the press during striking, resulting in part of the design being cut off or misplaced, while still retaining a visible date and mint mark, which makes it even more valuable. And depending on how far off-center the strike is, and how much of the original design remains visible, these coins can sell for hundreds of dollars, especially when graded and certified by professional third-party services such as PCGS or NGC, who provide authentication and market confidence to both collectors and investors. And another jaw-dropping error found on the 2015 penny is the die clash error, where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet in place, leaving a ghostly imprint of the opposite design on each side of the next coin struck, creating a bizarre and haunting overlap of Lincoln's portrait with parts of the Lincoln Memorial or the shield reversed, depending on the specific design used. And these coins look surreal and instantly recognizable to error specialists, who are always on the lookout for clash marks that tell a deeper story of what went wrong at the mint. And these die clashes, when bold and clearly visible, can push the value of a 2015 penny into the multiple hundreds of dollars bracket, especially when they occur in combination with other errors. And then there are broad strike errors, which occur when the retaining collar that normally holds the coin's shape and prevents metal from flowing outward during the strike is missing or fails, causing the coin to spread beyond its normal diameter and lose its raised rim. And these broad-struck 2015 pennies often appear wider and flatter than normal, and can be highly collectible, especially when the rest of the design remains sharp and centered. And while many error coins are valuable only when certified or in mint state, there have been documented cases of circulated 2015 error pennies selling for hundreds simply due to the extreme visibility and uniqueness of their mistakes. And when we include other types of planchet errors, such as coins struck on defective planchets with laminations or cracks, coins with missing clad layers, which appear coppery or incomplete, and even rare occurrences of the wrong planchet being used, possibly from a foreign coin. The list of what makes a 2015 penny valuable becomes longer and more exciting, and then there are the truly rare and desirable errors, such as retained couds, which happen when a piece of the die breaks away but remains partially in place, causing a raised blob or chunk of metal to appear on the coin where none should be, and when these couds are large, fully formed, and well-placed, collectors go crazy for them, especially when they are on modern coins like the 2015 penny, because they are far less common than in older coinage due to better modern quality control, yet still slip through the cracks at times. And another subtle but equally important error type on the 2015 penny is the misaligned die strike, where one of the dies is slightly off-axis during striking, creating a coin that is unevenly struck, with one side appearing shifted from the other. And while not always as dramatic as other errors, these misaligned die strikes can still be worth big money, especially when combined with sharp detail and high grades. And let's not forget about struck-through errors, where foreign materials such as grease, cloth, metal shavings, or even hair ends up on the die or planchet during striking and leaves a strange void or mark on the coin, which can vary wildly in appearance. But when verified by experts, these struck-through errors become valuable artifacts of the coin's minting journey and tell an incredible story about what can happen behind the scenes at the mint. And the variety of struck-through errors on the 2015 penny includes everything from full blanks obscured by grease to more complex and dramatic indentations that displace parts of Lincoln's face or key design elements. And these are exactly the kind of showpiece errors that collectors pay big money to add to their collections. And in some even more bizarre and unexpected cases, a small number of 2015 pennies have been discovered with partial collar errors, where the collar partially engaged during the strike, creating a coin with a tilted or distorted rim and edge pattern. And these errors are extremely rare and valuable, particularly when clearly defined and preserved in high grades. And when you combine any of these errors with top-notch condition, full red coloration, no signs of wear, and possibly grading by a top-tier company, the value multiplies. And this is how a coin that you might overlook at first glance can actually be worth hundreds. And it's also why this 2015 penny has made headlines and turned into one of the hottest coins in circulation, with entire online communities dedicated to searching for them, comparing examples, sharing discoveries, and watching market values rise as demand continues to increase. And if you're wondering where to begin searching for these incredible coins, it can be as simple as checking your loose change bank rolls, or even purchasing unsearched penny boxes from local banks to hunt through. Because even though many people have begun to learn about the value of modern errors, there are still millions of coins in circulation and in drawers all over the country that have yet to be examined under the careful eye of a knowledgeable collector. And the best part is that you don't need to be a professional to spot these errors. Just a good light, a decent magnifier, and a little patience can help you uncover something extraordinary and potentially life-changing. Next, 2003 Lincoln penny, the ultimate destination for coin enthusiasts, treasure hunters, and anyone fascinated by the idea that something as small, as simple, and as common as a penny could be worth hundreds of dollars. Because in today's incredible deep dive, we're going to talk about one of the most underestimated modern coins ever struck by the U.S. Mint. A coin that you could easily overlook in a handful of change or tucked away in a dusty jar. And yet this very coin has made headlines among collectors and experts in the numismatic world for its rare and shocking errors that have pushed its value all the way up to $330, and sometimes even higher in exceptional cases. And that coin is none other than the 2003 Lincoln 1-cent coin, a modern-day marvel of minting mishaps that has captivated the interest of collectors due to a variety of documented and discovered mint errors and die anomalies that turn this ordinary piece of copper-plated zinc into a highly desirable item sought after by those who understand just how significant certain production flaws can be when it comes to determining the rarity, appeal, and ultimately the value of a coin. And while at first glance, the 2003 penny may look just like any other coin from that era, the truth is that beneath its plain appearance lies secrets that, when properly identified, can unlock major returns, because the 2003 1-cent coin was produced in enormous quantities. But it's precisely in such high-volume minting environments that the probability of unnoticed errors increases, and at the Philadelphia Mint, where millions of these coins were struck, the sheer pace of production, combined with aging equipment and occasional lapses in die maintenance, created the perfect storm for a wide array of minting mistakes to occur and slip past quality control into general circulation. And among the many errors associated with the 2003 Lincoln cent, some of the most spectacular and valuable include off-center strikes, where the coin is improperly fed into the striking chamber and ends up with the design misaligned dramatically, often showing a large portion of the unstruck blank planchet, and sometimes causing part of Lincoln's portrait or the inscriptions like, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty," to be pushed so far to one side that they are only partially visible or missing entirely, and collectors especially love off-center errors that still retain a visible date and mint mark, making identification possible, and when such a coin is also in excellent condition with little to no wear, its desirability increases exponentially, sometimes pushing values close to or even beyond the $330 mark. And then there are examples of the 2003 penny that exhibit strong doubling on the obverse, a result of what numismatists call a double die error, which occurs during the die creation process when the hub impresses the design onto the die more than once, but with a slight misalignment, and this results in coins being struck with visibly duplicated elements, most often seen on the date the words "Liberty" or "In God We Trust." And unlike mechanical doubling, which is caused by machine vibration and results in flat, shelf-like doubling, true hub doubling has rounded edges and distinct separation, making it far more valuable and sought after, and confirmed double die examples from 2003 have sold for significant amounts, especially when found in uncirculated or mint state condition. And another class of errors that affects the 2003 1-cent coin includes die cracks and couds, where the actual die used to strike the coin develops fissures or breaks due to overuse or metal fatigue, and as the damaged die continues to strike coins, those cracks begin to show up as raised lines or blobs of extra metal on the coin's surface, and when a portion of the die actually breaks off completely, the resulting coin will have a coud, which appears as a large, raised, blob-like area where the design is missing entirely, often along the rim or edge of the coin, and such dramatic and obvious errors are always in high demand among collectors, and the larger and more unique the coud or die crack, the more the coin is likely to be worth, and there are several documented cases of 2003 pennies with noticeable die breaks stretching across Lincoln's face or intersecting the date, sometimes accompanied by reverse side breaks that affect the Lincoln Memorial design. And in rare cases, these types of errors occur alongside other mistakes like strike-throughs or planchet flaws, creating combination errors that are extremely rare and even more valuable. And speaking of strike-through errors, these are another fascinating category that shows up on 2003 cents and occurs when a foreign object like a piece of string, cloth, wire, or even grease gets in between the die and the blank planchet during striking, resulting in a coin with unusual depressions, textures, or missing design areas that correspond to the shape and size of the object that interfered with the strike. And one particularly interesting type of strike-through error involves grease-filled dies, where lubricant or debris accumulates in the recessed areas of the die, causing those areas to strike coins with weak or missing details. So on a 2003 penny you might see the date appear faint, blurry, or even partially missing. Or portions of the design, like Lincoln's eye or the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, might look unusually flat or indistinct. And while some minor Grease-filled errors are common. The more dramatic and severe examples, especially those affecting key design elements, can fetch significant prices among collectors. And another kind of error known to affect 2003 Lincoln cents is the misaligned die strike, which happens when the hammer die, usually the obverse, is slightly out of alignment with the anvil die, usually the reverse, resulting in a coin where one side is shifted relative to the other, sometimes leading to a partial collar strike or distorted reading on the edge. And although these types of errors might not sound impressive, when found in combination with strong eye appeal or paired with other flaws like doubling or couds, they can become extremely desirable, especially in high-grade examples. And then, there are clipped planchet errors where part of the coin's edge appears to be missing in a crescent-shaped curve or straight line, a result of the blank planchet being improperly punched from the metal strip. And such errors are visually striking and relatively easy to authenticate, and collectors love them for their aesthetic appeal and clear departure from the intended circular shape. And while minor clips may not add a lot of value, more dramatic examples, especially if they occur on coins with strong detail and no damage, can sell for several $100s. And then, there are the rare but very intriguing wrong planchet errors, where a coin is accidentally struck on a blank intended for another denomination, such as a dime or foreign coin, leading to an undersized and underweight penny with incomplete or missing design elements. And though such errors are rare, they are always valuable, especially if the mistake is dramatic and the coin is well preserved. And in the case of the 2003 cent, such a wrong planchet error would be obvious due to size, weight, and sometimes even color differences. And coins like these are often submitted to grading services for authentication and encapsulation, after which they tend to sell quickly in the marketplace due to high collector interest. And then we have die clash errors, which occur when the dies strike each other without a planchet in between, causing each die to pick up an impression of the other, which is then transferred onto the coins they strike, resulting in ghost-like images of reverse design elements appearing on the obverse and vice versa. And on 2003 cents, these clashes have resulted in extra lines or shadows appearing around Lincoln's head or in the fields of the coin. And although subtle, these errors are captivating and provide another layer of value, especially when the clash is dramatic and easily visible without magnification. And all these various error types, off-center strikes, double dies, die cracks, couds, strike-throughs, clipped planchets, wrong planchet strikes, die clashes, and misalignments, can occur alone or in combination, and when they do, the rarity and value of the coin can increase substantially, especially when certified by reputable grading companies that provide assurance of authenticity and condition. Next, 2004 Lincoln penny. Today, because we are diving deep into the incredible world of the 2004 1-cent coin, a penny that might seem common at first glance, but can be worth up to $64 or even more under the right conditions due to a variety of errors, minting mistakes, and subtle yet significant production anomalies that make it one of those hidden gems in modern coinage that collectors dream of uncovering in pocket change, coin rolls, or inherited jars of spare coins. And while most people pass by these coins without a second thought, experienced collectors, error specialists, and treasure hunters know that the U.S. Mint's extensive production volume can sometimes result in rare variations that not only stand out from the rest but become hot items at auctions and numismatic conventions, especially when these errors are verified and authenticated, leading to a massive spike in value and desirability in the market. And when we examine the 2004 Lincoln cent, particularly from both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, we uncover a variety of compelling error types, including off-center strikes, die cracks, die chips, double dies, lamination errors, clipped planchets, BIE errors, and more that have made individual examples fetch unexpectedly high prices, especially when preserved in excellent condition or certified by major grading services like PCGS or NGC. And perhaps what's most thrilling about the 2004 penny is that despite being minted in the billions as part of the zinc core with copper-plated outer layer composition that began in 1982, certain batches and individual examples have emerged as surprising outliers due to the unique minting process anomalies that only occur under rare and specific circumstances, beginning with one of the most visually striking and immediately recognizable types, the off-center strike error, where the coin is not properly aligned between the dies during the striking process and ends up with a portion of the design missing or significantly off balance, creating a crescent of blank metal or a shifted portrait of Abraham Lincoln that can range in severity from just a few percent off-center to extreme cases of 50% or more, with the most valuable being those where the date and mint mark remain fully visible despite the dramatic misalignment, and collectors particularly favor such specimens because they offer clear visual confirmation of mint error combined with identifiable features that make dating and attribution possible. And then we encounter the fascinating world of doubled dies, especially on the obverse side, where Lincoln's profile resides, with doubling seen on the date, Liberty inscription, and the motto "In God We Trust," where close inspection, often aided by a loupe or microscope, reveals slightly offset impressions of the same design elements caused by misalignment during the die creation process itself rather than the coin strike, and such errors, especially strong examples, are cherished by numismatists for their uniqueness and relative rarity even among large mintages. And then we move into die cracks and die chips, small but impactful anomalies that occur as dies age and begin to fracture, leading to raised lines or blobs of metal on the surface of the coin that can form anywhere from Lincoln's head to the reverse building of the Lincoln Memorial or the areas between lettering, and these minor flaws, sometimes referred to as coud errors, when they involve a section of the die breaking off, can significantly raise the value of an otherwise ordinary coin depending on their location, size, and prominence. And what's equally compelling are the so-called BIE errors, named after the extra die chip that appears between the B and E of Liberty, forming what looks like an additional letter I. And while these BIE errors are often dismissed by casual observers, serious Lincoln set collectors have entire subsets of their collections devoted to this single error type, cataloging the many variations by year and mint, and paying increasing premiums for sharp, uncirculated examples that exhibit clear and well-formed die chips in this specific area, and moving beyond die where we find planchet-related issues such as lamination errors, where the outer copper plating peels or separates due to impurities or improper bonding during production, leading to visible flaking, bubbling, or missing surface material that not only creates a visually dramatic coin, but also adds significantly to its collectible appeal when authenticated. And in rarer instances, the 2004 penny has appeared struck on an incorrect planchet altogether, such as a foreign coin blank or a dime planchet, resulting in undersized coins with missing or partial design elements that instantly alert trained eyes to their unusual nature, and often sell for hundreds of dollars depending on the clarity of strike and the novelty of the error. And let's not overlook the clipped planchet errors where part of the metal blank was mistakenly cut from the edge of a sheet already missing a section, resulting in a crescent-shaped clip on the coin, which can range from tiny nicks to large, clearly visible chunks removed. And when such clips occur with full details and minimal circulation wear, they quickly become attention-grabbing rarities, especially if accompanied by another error like doubling or off-center strike. And with the 2004 cent, we also see occasional broad strikes, where the retaining collar that normally constrains the coin's shape fails during the striking process, leading to a coin that spreads out wider and flatter than usual while still displaying most of the design elements. And such errors are unusual enough that collectors will pay well above face value for crisp and undamaged examples. And in terms of sheer volume, the Philadelphia Mint produced over 3.9 billion pennies in 2004, while the Denver Mint produced nearly 3.5 billion, which might seem like overwhelming odds against rarity, but actually increases the likelihood of errors due to the high-speed, high-pressure production systems operating under immense strain and minimal tolerance for deviation. And when you consider how many of these coins were quickly bagged and distributed across the country, it becomes clear how a small percentage of them escaped unnoticed with critical minting mistakes that now make them extremely valuable to the right buyer, and auctions across the U.S. have seen verified 2004 error pennies command premium prices from collectors eager to fill specific slots in their error coin collections, or simply to own a visually compelling piece of American minting history, and even circulated examples can reach values of $10 to $50 depending on the type and visibility of the error, with uncirculated or high-grade examples authenticated by third-party graders crossing the $64 mark and sometimes even exceeding it when bidding wars break out among enthusiasts who recognize the long-term appreciation potential of rare modern errors. And what's fascinating about the 2004 cent is how it serves as a perfect example of how ordinary coins in ordinary pockets can harbor extraordinary value when we slow down and look closely. And even more interesting is how much variation can exist from one coin to another minted in the same year, same mint, and same metal composition, simply due to the unpredictable nature of mechanical processes under strain. And whether it's a minor die chip on the reverse or a dramatic off-center strike with missing details, each flawed coin tells a story about the U.S. Mint's complex operations and the constant tension between mass production and perfection. And this is exactly why coin roll hunters, metal detectorists, and casual collectors keep their eyes peeled for such anomalies in every handful of change, knowing that a coin like the 2004 penny with the right combination of error and condition can transform into an exciting payday or become the highlight of a curated collection. And the growing popularity of numismatics through online forums, YouTube channels, TikTok collectors, and social media has only amplified interest in such coins, bringing more attention and higher bids to listings that feature verified and visually engaging errors. And if you happen to stumble upon a 2004 penny with any signs of doubling, off-center alignment, cracks, chips, or anything that looks different from the standard issue, it is absolutely worth closer inspection and possibly submission to a grading service or error expert, because in the world of collectible currency, rarity and condition are everything, and even subtle differences can make the difference between a face value penny and a coin worth many times more. Next, 1995 D. Lincoln Penny. We deep dive into the captivating and surprising world of coins, where small copper pieces you might have in your pocket or lying forgotten in a jar can actually be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars if they feature rare and interesting errors. And today we're exploring the fascinating story behind the 1995 D. Lincoln cent, a coin that most people overlook as just another everyday penny. But as you'll soon discover, certain examples of this Denver minted 1 cent piece have sold for as much as $354 and even more in some cases, thanks to the variety of mint errors, die varieties, and production anomalies that have intrigued collectors and driven demand through the roof. And if you think it's impossible for a penny to be worth that much, think again, because when it comes to mint errors, scarcity, and collector interest, the smallest details can mean the biggest money. So buckle up and stay engaged as we walk through all the fascinating ways this ordinary 1995 D cent becomes extraordinarily valuable, starting with one of the most widely known types of errors in U.S. coins, which is the double die error. And while the 1995 Philadelphia Mint Lincoln cent famously features the prominent double die obverse that sparked a collecting frenzy in the mid-1990s, the 1995 D does not have that same extreme doubling. However, it is often mistakenly believed to be error-free by those unfamiliar with the broader range of potential issues it can exhibit, and in fact, there are subtle doubling varieties that do exist on the 1995 D cent, including machine doubling and minor die deterioration doubling that can confuse new collectors, but may still hold numismatic interest depending on their strength and visibility. But more importantly, there are numerous other error types found on the 1995D cent that elevate its status and value. Starting with off-center strikes, which are caused when the planchet is not seated properly in the press, resulting in the design being stamped off its usual alignment and leaving blank areas on the coin, and depending on how far off-center the strike is, and whether or not the date and mint mark are visible, these errors can be worth anywhere from $10 to over $300, especially in uncirculated condition. And then we have die cracks and die breaks, including what collectors refer to as couds, where part of the die breaks away and leaves a raised blob or featureless area on the coin surface, often on the rim or across letters. And some 1995D Lincoln cents exhibit dramatic couds and raised die breaks across Lincoln's bust, the lettering in Liberty or In God We Trust, or around the Lincoln Memorial, and collectors often pay strong premiums for coins with large and dramatic die breaks, especially those with visual symmetry or distinctive shapes. And another fascinating area of error comes from strike-throughs, where foreign materials like grease, debris, or even fragments of tools or cloth interfere with the die at the moment of striking, leaving strange patterns or missing areas on the coin. And while some minor grease strikes might be common and not particularly valuable, dramatic and unusual strike-through errors, especially ones that result in missing design elements or ghost-like impressions, are highly collectible and can add serious value. And there are also examples of coins struck through retained wire, cloth, or other objects that left recognizable impressions on the finished coins. And these types of strike-through errors are prized for their uniqueness and rarity, often fetching well over $100 depending on severity and clarity. And then we have broad strike errors, where the collar die that normally forms the edge of the coin fails, allowing the planchet to spread out when struck, resulting in a wider and flatter coin that still contains the full design but looks distorted and oversized. And broad-struck 1995D cents can be worth significant amounts if they are clean, well-centered, and show clear detail, especially if they remain in high mint state grades. And then there are clipped planchet errors, where a portion of the coin is missing due to the blank being punched too close to the edge of the metal sheet, creating curved or straight clips that are visually distinct and can be highly collectible, especially when the clip does not interfere with important parts of the design such as the date or mint mark. And clipped planchets can command values between $25 and $150 or more, depending on the size and location of the clip. And there are also transitional errors to consider. These are coins struck using features from a previous or future design or composition. And although the 1995D does not have widely known transitional errors, like the 1982 copper zinc switch or the 1983 reverse dial change, collectors still hunt for odd planchet or die combinations that can indicate experimentation or mistakes during production, including coins struck on foreign or incorrect metal blanks, such as dime planchets or foreign coin planchets, which have different weights and compositions and are extremely rare and valuable. And coins like these must often be authenticated and weighed to confirm that they were not tampered with or artificially altered. And then we get into the realm of double strikes and multiple strikes, where a coin is struck more than once either by accident or due to a failure in ejecting the coin from the press properly. And 1995D Lincoln cents with visible secondary impressions or overlapping images are known to exist and can be dramatic and incredibly valuable, especially when both strikes are on center or both date and mint mark are clearly readable. And while these are rare, when found in mint state, they can command values of several $100s or more depending on the specifics. And let's not forget misaligned die strikes, where the obverse and reverse dies are not perfectly aligned vertically, resulting in one side of the coin being off-center while the other appears normal. And while this is technically different from a traditional off-center strike, it is still very collectible when pronounced and can significantly increase the value of a 1995 D cent. And even more rare are coins with rotated dies, where the obverse and reverse are not aligned properly and appear rotated from each other when the coin is flipped. And 1995 D pennies with significant rotation, say 45 degrees or more, are of great interest to collectors who specialize in alignment errors. And then there's the world of repunched mint marks, RPMs, where the D mint mark for Denver was punched more than once into the working die at slightly different positions, resulting in visible doubling or tripling of the mint mark. And although the U.S. Mint stopped hand-punching mint marks by 1990, there are still instances of RPM-like anomalies, or what some numismatists believe may be the result of other mechanical doubling processes that appear as mint mark doubling on 1995 D cents. And while less common than earlier years, any visible irregularities in the mint mark are worth investigating and may bring a premium. And speaking of condition, the value of any 1995 D cent, error or otherwise, is greatly influenced by its grade, with uncirculated examples that show strong luster and full strike detail being worth much more than worn or damaged coins, and coins graded MS65 or higher by services like PCGS or NGC can dramatically outperform raw or lower grade coins on the open market, especially if the error is significant, dramatic, and well preserved. And we must also consider the collector demand that drives these prices, because error coins have grown massively in popularity over the past decade due to the influence of online communities, YouTube coin hunting channels, TikTok videos, Facebook groups, Instagram posts, and eBay listings where collectors showcase rare finds and raise awareness of potential treasures that others may not know to look for. And the 1995 D cent has been featured prominently in many such discussions and videos, especially when dramatic errors are involved, and the increasing number of people roll hunting and checking their pocket change has helped bring more specimens to light, but also created competition that drives prices up for the best examples. And this dynamic, more eyes looking, more awareness, more demand, and limited supply, is what helps drive certain examples of 1995 D pennies, with striking errors to values like $354 and beyond. And that's not an isolated sale either, as there have been multiple documented auction results, private transactions, and online sales showing coins from this year selling in that range due to combinations of errors, high grades, dramatic visual appeal. Next, 2011 D Lincoln penny. Every coin tells a story, and even the smallest piece of pocket change could be your gateway to hidden treasure. And today we are going to dive deep into the incredible world of the 2011 D Lincoln 1-cent coin, a piece that may seem like just another penny in your hand but can actually be worth as much as $646 due to a fascinating array of errors, die varieties, striking anomalies, and unique minting mistakes that have captured the attention of collectors, dealers, and numismatic experts alike. And whether you're a seasoned collector or someone who just enjoys checking their change for something special, this episode will open your eyes to the endless possibilities hiding in plain sight. Because the story behind the 2011 D penny is not just about its face value, but about how certain imperfections during its production have turned this humble coin into a highly desirable artifact of modern minting history. And to truly appreciate why this coin can fetch such a high price, we need to understand both the minting process and the types of errors that can occur at every stage, starting with the preparation of the blank planchets, the creation of the dies, the striking of the design, and the final output of the finished coin. And during each of these steps, something can go wrong, and when it does, the result can be a coin so unique, so rare, and so visually captivating that collectors are willing to pay hundreds of dollars for it. And with the 2011 D penny, one of the key features that collectors look for is the presence of strong die clashes, where parts of the design from the obverse and reverse get imprinted onto each other due to the dies striking without a planchet in place. leaving behind ghostly images that can make the coin look as though it's been printed with a hidden double image. And while this kind of die clash error might seem like a defect, it's exactly the kind of anomaly that makes coins like the 2011 D penny so valuable. And another significant error type found on this coin includes off-center strikes, which occur when the planchet is not properly aligned within the coin chamber, resulting in a design that is shifted to one side, sometimes drastically enough that portions of the lettering or even the date might be missing. But as long as the date and mint mark are visible, such off-center errors can dramatically raise the coin's value. And then we have doubled dies, perhaps one of the most exciting and well-known minting errors, where the coin's design elements appear doubled due to a misalignment during the die hubbing process. And in the case of the 2011 D penny, examples have been found with doubling on the inscription such as Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and the date itself. And this doubling is not to be confused with machine doubling, which is a more common and far less valuable type of error caused by mechanical vibration during the striking process, and true doubled dies are created at the die level, meaning every coin struck by that die will exhibit the same doubling, making them a true variety rather than a one-off error. And coins with bold, unmistakable doubled die features can command extremely high prices, especially when they are graded in mint state by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC. And speaking of grading, the condition of the 2011 D penny plays a huge role in its value. With coins that remain in uncirculated condition with full luster, no contact marks, and sharp details bringing in top dollar. And this is why even two coins with the same type of error can have vastly different values depending on their condition, appeal, and overall preservation. And yet another rare but valuable error found in some 2011 D cents involves retained interior die breaks, which create raised blobs or lines on the surface of the coin that do not belong to the original design. And these can appear as strange distortions near the lettering or in the fields of the coin, often mistaken by casual observers for post-mint damage. But experienced collectors know these errors originate from a failing die that's begun to fracture internally. And because these types of die breaks are relatively rare and can only occur before the die is pulled from production, coins bearing these features are sought after and often cataloged in variety databases, adding historical and collectible value to the piece. And then there are other striking errors like brockages, which happen when a previously struck coin fails to eject and gets struck again into a new planchet, creating a mirror image design impression that is both visually stunning and extremely rare. And although brockage errors on 2011 D pennies are very scarce, examples that have surfaced have fetched significant premiums due to their dramatic appearance and undeniable mint origin characteristics. And even more subtle errors like tilted partial collar strikes, rim couds, and thin rims can increase the interest in value of a 2011 D penny, especially when combined with sharp strike quality and limited circulation wear. And collectors love to find coins that not only have a rare error, but also retain their original mint luster and vibrant appearance. And as with all modern U.S. coins, the presence of special toning or environmental colorations that occur under unusual conditions, such as heat exposure, chemical reactions, or long-term storage in specific materials, can also enhance a coin's desirability if the toning is attractive and not overly damaged. And while this kind of value addition is more subjective, coins with rainbow toning or multicolor patterns can sometimes double or triple in value if the toning is natural and the underlying surfaces are intact. And returning to the 2011 D penny's mint origin, it's important to recognize that the Denver Mint is known for high-volume production, which means that while many coins are struck perfectly, the sheer number of coins produced increases the odds of occasional minting mistakes. And with over 4 billion pennies struck in Denver that year, even a tiny fraction of errors can result in thousands of collectible coins entering circulation unnoticed. And this is precisely what makes the hunt so exciting for collectors, because these coins are still out there, in change, in rolls, in jars, waiting to be discovered by someone with a keen eye and a bit of luck, and the demand for error coins has grown significantly. In recent years, thanks to social media platforms, YouTube coin channels, and online auction sites where stories of everyday people finding rare coins and selling them for big money inspire others to join the hobby, and this increased visibility has made coins like the 2011 D penny with errors and varieties more desirable and valuable than ever before, and part of the appeal is that these are modern coins, not centuries-old antiques, meaning they're more accessible, easier to understand, and still within reach for anyone willing to take the time to look, and resources such as error coin guides, numismatic books, online variety attribution sites, and digital microscopes have made it easier than ever to spot and verify valuable coins, helping collectors understand what they have and where it fits in the broader world of U.S. coinage. And when it comes to actually determining the value of a specific 2011 D penny, you have to consider a combination of factors including the type and clarity of the error, the grade and condition of the coin, how rare that error is relative to the overall mintage, and how many similar examples have been found and certified, and coins that are the first of their kind or the finest known examples can command exceptionally high prices, and documented auction sales of 2011 D pennies with striking or die errors have reached into the hundreds of dollars, sometimes exceeding $600, especially when encapsulated with full attribution by a grading service, and in some cases, coins with dramatic and unusual errors are submitted to specialty auctions where high-end collectors bid aggressively to own unique pieces, pushing prices to surprising heights. And with all these possibilities in mind, the 2011 D penny represents more than just a monetary denomination. It symbolizes the intersection of modern technology, human oversight, mechanical limitations, and collector curiosity, and this combination makes every error coin not only a collectible but a conversation piece and a testament to the unpredictability of high-speed minting processes. And if you're new to coin collecting, or just now realizing how valuable your spare change could be, start by gathering your pennies, sorting them by year and mint mark. Next, 1986 Lincoln Penny. Today we unravel one of the most fascinating stories in the world of coin collecting, a realm where everyday currency can transform into extraordinary treasure, and in this episode, we are focusing on the intriguing, mysterious, and incredibly valuable 1986 Lincoln 1-cent coin, a piece of American currency that at first glance seems ordinary but due to a series of unexpected errors, minting mistakes, and rare variations, has skyrocketed in value and become a sought-after gem among collectors, with some examples being known to sell for as much as $744 or more. And what makes this even more compelling is that this coin might be hiding in plain sight in your pocket, in an old coin jar, or tucked away in a drawer, waiting for a sharp-eyed collector to discover its hidden worth. So get ready as we take a deep dive into all the unique features, error types, and incredible details that make the 1986 penny far more valuable than its face value would suggest. Because this is more than just a coin, it's a piece of minting history. And as we begin this exploration, we must first understand the context of the 1986 penny itself, which, like other Lincoln cents from the modern era, features the iconic image of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, designed by Victor David Brenner, and first introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. And on the reverse, we see the Lincoln Memorial, a design that was used from 1959 until 2008 and is instantly recognizable to collectors. But what separates the 1986 version from the countless other Lincoln cents minted throughout history are the rare and astonishing minting errors that occurred during its production. And when it comes to mint errors, there are several types that can significantly increase a coin's value, starting with off-center strikes, which happen when the planchet, the blank disc of metal that becomes the coin, is not properly aligned in the press, resulting in a coin that is part of its design missing or skewed to one side, and the more off-center the strike, especially if the date and mint mark remain visible, the more desirable and valuable the coin becomes. And in the case of the 1986 penny, several off-center examples have been discovered that range from mild misalignments to dramatic errors where more than 50% of the design is missing, making them highly coveted by error collectors. Then we have double die errors, another well-known and much sought-after type of mistake, which occur when the die used to strike the coin receives multiple impressions from the hub that are misaligned, causing a noticeable doubling of features on the coin such as the date, lettering, or design elements. And although major double dies are relatively rare, any example showing clear doubling on a 1986 penny would increase its value immensely. And collectors are constantly on the lookout for even subtle signs of this error, especially around the date, the words "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and "United States of America," because these are the most common places for doubled elements to appear, and closely related to doubled dies are repunched mint marks or RPMs, which are the result of the mint mark being manually punched more than once into the die in slightly different locations, creating a visible doubling effect on the mint mark itself. And while this practice was largely phased out by the late 1980s with the introduction of computerized minting systems, some examples of repunched mint marks from 1986 have been identified, especially from the Denver Mint where the D mint mark was applied, and coins exhibiting this anomaly have sold for impressive premiums. And another major source of value in error coins, like the 1986 penny, comes from die breaks, cracks, and couds, which are physical deformations or imperfections in the die that end up being transferred onto the coins, resulting in raised lines or blobs of metal that distort the normal design. And in particular, collectors have identified 1986 pennies with large couds that obscure portions of the design or date, giving these coins a unique appearance that sets them apart from standard issues and makes them attractive to those who seek out one-of-a-kind pieces. And among the most fascinating and collectible of errors are those caused by striking anomalies, such as coins struck on the wrong planchet. For example, a penny struck on a dime planchet, resulting in a smaller, lighter coin with incomplete design elements. Or broad-struck coins where the collar die that shapes the edge fails to engage properly, causing the coin to spread out and lose its normal dimensions. And several 1986 pennies have been confirmed to have been struck on incorrect planchets, making them among the rarest and most valuable examples in the Lincoln cent series. And let's not forget about coins with missing or thin copper plating, especially relevant to the 1986 penny since by that time the U.S. Mint was using a zinc core with a thin copper coating rather than solid copper, and when the plating process fails or is applied unevenly, it can lead to coins that appear silvery or have patches of exposed zinc, which are considered highly collectible due to their unusual appearance and manufacturing origins. And even environmental exposure, though usually seen as damage, can sometimes intersect with mint errors in fascinating ways, such as when improperly annealed planchets cause a penny to take on a different hue or tone, leading to confusion between error and damage but still piquing interest among collectors. And strike-through errors, in which foreign materials such as grease, fabric, or metal shavings are caught between the die and the planchet during striking, can create ghostly, partially missing images or sections of the design that look smeared or absent. And 1986 strike-throughs, especially those that are dramatic and obvious to the naked eye, have drawn strong prices at auction and among private collectors who value their uniqueness. And the mint state or grade of a coin also plays a huge role in its value, and the higher the grade, the more pristine the coin, and fewer such examples survive from circulation in top conditions. And for the 1986 penny, those found in mint state 67 or higher by grading services like PCGS or NGC can command impressive premiums, especially if they also exhibit one of the aforementioned errors, making them doubly valuable. And the rarity of high-grade examples is intensified by the fact that pennies are among the most heavily circulated coins, prone to wear and tear, which means uncirculated or exceptionally preserved coins from this year are hard to come by, and the location of the minting also matters, with 1986 pennies being produced at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, and variations between the two mints can impact value, especially if an error is unique to one location, and coin collectors often seek to collect every known variation of a particular year and type, increasing demand for rare errors. And what makes the 1986 penny story even more thrilling is that new errors and varieties are still being discovered today, thanks to the growing community of collectors who document and share their finds online, through forums, videos, and digital catalogs, expanding the known universe of collectible coins and raising awareness of these rarities among a broader audience. And as demand increases, so too does value, meaning that even coins once thought of as minor anomalies can gain worth over time, particularly as their population remains limited and more collectors seek to add them to their collections. And this dynamic market is one of the reasons why a 1986 penny that may have been overlooked for decades can suddenly be reevaluated and sold for hundreds of dollars once its error is recognized and verified. And let's also consider the educational value that comes with identifying these coins, because becoming proficient in spotting errors involves learning about the minting process, understanding die life cycles, recognizing signs of mechanical doubling versus true doubling, and gaining insight into the countless ways a coin can be misstruck or damaged. And for many, this knowledge journey becomes as rewarding as the financial returns, creating a lifelong passion for numismatics that turns everyday change into a source of fascination and discovery. And for those just starting out, the best approach is to begin examining every penny you come across, using a magnifier or loupe, studying reputable guides and error coin resources, and slowly building a trained eye that can pick out anomalies others might miss. And as you do, you may come to appreciate the sheer variety of errors. Next, 2005 Lincoln penny. We dive deep into the fascinating world of rare and valuable coins hiding in plain sight, coins you might overlook every day. And today we're going to unlock the incredible story of how a 2005 Lincoln 1-cent coin, which was originally worth just a single cent, can now sell for $50 or even more because of a range of minting errors, die varieties, and striking anomalies that make it highly collectible and desirable in the eyes of coin enthusiasts and professional numismatists alike. And this is not just another random coin tale, it's an incredible example of how even modern coins from the 21st century can become numismatic treasures due to tiny, overlooked details during production. So sit back and stay tuned, because in this video we're going to explore the types of minting mistakes that elevate the value of this copper-plated zinc cent, how these errors occur during the high-speed minting process at the Denver Mint, why collectors are willing to pay big money for flawed coins, and what specific things to look for if you want to find a 2005 penny worth $50 or more. So let's begin by looking at the context of the 2005 Lincoln cent, which features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, and was struck in huge numbers at the Denver Mint in Colorado, part of the ongoing annual production of billions of Lincoln cents meant for circulation across the United States. But as with all mass-produced items, mistakes can and do happen, and when they occur in such a way that they are identifiable and relatively rare, they become prized by collectors who seek uniqueness and rarity in their collections. And in the case of the 2005 penny, several types of errors have been discovered over the years that can dramatically increase its value, starting with one of the most dramatic and easily identifiable errors, off-center strikes, which happen when the coin blank or planchet is not properly aligned between the dies during the striking process, resulting in a coin where part of the design is missing or pushed toward one side. And depending on how far off-center the strike is, and whether the date and mint mark are still fully visible, such coins can range in value from a few dollars to well over $50, especially if the coin is also in high grade and has strong eye appeal, And then, there are the double die errors, which are caused by misalignment during the die creation process, leading to doubling of design. Elements like the date, mint mark, or inscriptions such as Liberty or In God We Trust. And while the 2005D doesn't have a widely recognized major double die like the famous 1955 or 1972 varieties, minor double dies do exist and can be found by careful inspection, sometimes requiring a loupe or microscope, and when identified and verified by a professional grading service. Even modest doubling can push a coin's value well past the $50 mark, especially if the doubling is clean, distinct, and located on key design features that make it instantly recognizable. And another fascinating type of error that can impact the 2005D penny involves die clashes, which occur when the dies strike each other without a planchet in between, leaving ghostly impressions of the opposing die's design imprinted on each die, which then gets transferred onto subsequent coins, resulting in coins that may show part of the Lincoln Memorial on the obverse side or part of Lincoln's head on the reverse side, which adds a layer of visual intrigue and significant value to the coin, and collectors often seek these dramatic errors because they represent moments where the minting process went wildly off script, producing coins that were never supposed to look the way they do. And among these errors we must also consider coins that were struck through foreign material, like grease, cloth, or metal shavings, which can block parts of the die and result in missing or obscure design elements, known as strike-through errors. And when these strike-throughs are dramatic or affect critical parts of the coin like the date or Lincoln's portrait, they can increase the value considerably, especially if the rest of the coin is well preserved and shows minimal circulation wear. And let's not forget about broad strikes, which occur when the collar die fails to engage during the strike, allowing the metal to expand outward and creating a coin that's wider than normal and often has distorted or missing rims. And although broad strikes don't affect the design as dramatically as other errors, they are still noticeable and collectible, especially on a modern set like the 2005D, where such errors are less common. And in addition to these errors, there's also the potential for repunchment marks, known as RPMs, which were more common before the mint adopted the single squeeze die process, but still occasionally appear due to die deterioration or machine doubling. And while RPMs on 2005D cents are rare, if one is found and authenticated, it can command a healthy premium because of its rarity and the general interest in mint mark varieties among dedicated Lincoln cent collectors. And speaking of die deterioration, coins struck with worn dies can exhibit extreme die wear, sometimes called die fatigue, which results in mushy or blurry details and can occasionally produce unusual patterns or shapes that mimic true doubling. But collectors who are knowledgeable and experienced can distinguish between genuine doubling and mechanical or die wear effects, and when the oddity is dramatic enough and visually interesting, even these coins can attract buyers looking for something out of the ordinary. And another exciting possibility is the accidental use of the wrong planchet, which, while extremely rare, can lead to dramatic differences in coin weight, color, and size. For example, if a 2005D penny was mistakenly struck on a dime blank or a foreign coin planchet, it would not only look and feel different, but also be a major error with a potentially much higher value than $50. And although only a handful of such wrong planchet errors have been discovered for modern pennies, they are out there, and they represent one of the most desirable and valuable types of minting errors possible. And we also have to look at how condition plays a massive role in determining value, because even a significant error might only fetch a modest price if the coin is heavily worn, scratched, or corroded, whereas the same error on a coin graded MS65 or higher by a major grading service like PCGS or NGC could easily sell for many multiples of the base value. So it's essential not only to identify errors, but also to preserve coins properly and avoid cleaning or damaging them in any way. And in recent years, thanks to the rise of online marketplaces, social media, and coin collecting YouTube channels, awareness of these valuable error coins has exploded, leading more and more people to search their change and coin jars for hidden treasures like the 2005 error penny, which, despite being a relatively recent issue, continues to yield surprises for those who take the time to look closely. And one of the most rewarding aspects of error coin collecting is the thrill of discovery, knowing that a seemingly ordinary coin can, due to a small mistake during its creation, become an object of curiosity, admiration, and even bidding wars at coin shows or auctions. And that's exactly the case with the 2005 Lincoln cent, which shows that even in the modern era of high-tech minting, perfection is elusive, and those imperfections, when caught and understood, are the very things that fuel the dreams and ambitions of coin collectors across the country and beyond. And whether it's a dramatic off-center strike with half the design missing, a sharp doubled liberty that jumps out under magnification, a ghostly die clash that adds a layer of mystery, a broad strike that stretches the boundaries of what a coin should look like, or a strike-through that deletes part of the design altogether, every error tells a story of what went wrong in a moment at the mint, and how that moment created something that millions of other coins don't have: uniqueness, rarity, and value. And as you continue your journey into the world of coin collecting, always keep your eyes open for the unexpected. Always look a little closer at every cent that passes through your hands, because you never know when that next 2005 penny could turn out to be more than just pocket change. It could be a $50 coin, or even more if the right error, the right condition, and the right buyer come together. Next, 1989 1-cent USA coin. Today's feature is one that will absolutely captivate any coin collector or enthusiast, because we're about to explore a specific 1989 1-cent coin, a humble-looking penny that astonishingly fetched a value of $723 due to its intriguing combination of rare errors, unique minting mistakes, and the possibilities that arise when mechanical mishaps at the mint transform standard currency into high-value collectibles. And if you've ever come across a 1989 penny and casually tossed it into your change jar, you might want to double-check it after learning what makes this particular coin stand out among millions, and how certain factors, from off-center strikes to die clashes and more obscure anomalies, can turn it into a prized possession for collectors across the globe. And we begin our journey by looking at the sheer volume of 1989 pennies produced by the United States Mint, with well over 7 billion struck that year between the Philadelphia and Denver facilities, which makes it even more remarkable when a rare and valuable variety surfaces, standing out in a sea of mass production because of the way tiny, sometimes almost imperceptible, flaws can drastically affect a coin's value. And one of the most significant and desirable types of errors found on 1989 Lincoln cents is the double die error, particularly on the obverse, where doubling of the design elements, such as the motto, "In God We Trust," the word liberty, and the date 1989 itself may appear, and this doubling is not to be confused with machine doubling, which is far more common and considerably less valuable, but true die doubling results from a misalignment during the creation of the coin die, when the hub impresses the design more than once in slightly different positions, and when such a coin reaches the public, it immediately captures attention, because collectors prize these rare anomalies for their uniqueness and the glimpse they offer into the minting process. And another major error seen on some 1,989 1-cent pieces is the off-center strike, which occurs when the blank planchet, the metal disc that becomes the coin, is not properly aligned with the coin die during the striking process, and depending on how off-center the strike is, such coins can become dramatically collectible, especially when the date remains fully visible, which is a key factor in maintaining its desirability. And an off-center strike of around 50% with a clear date can boost the coin's value significantly, sometimes even multiplying it several times over. And this type of error not only adds intrigue, but creates a coin that's visually striking and impossible to ignore, setting it apart from standard issue examples. And then we have the clipped planchet error, where part of the coin's edge is missing in a curved or straight fashion because the metal strip used to punch out planchets was misaligned or overlapped, leading to an incomplete blank that still got struck and released. And when these clipped planchet coins include a visible date and major design details, they become incredibly attractive to collectors who specialize in such anomalies. And yet another error that has contributed to the rising value of specific 1989 cents is the broad strike, a condition that arises when the collar die, the piece responsible for shaping the rim and keeping the blank in place, malfunctions or is absent during striking, causing the metal to expand outward beyond its normal diameter and giving the coin a wider, flatter appearance that stands out instantly to a trained eye. And then there are coins exhibiting die cracks, die chips, and couds, all of which are the result of wear or damage to the die used to strike the coins. And these errors can appear as raised lines, blobs, or missing portions of the design, and can vary significantly in size and location, with some especially dramatic examples becoming the centerpiece of a collector's display due to their unusual and eye-catching appearance. And let's not forget about the transitional error possibilities, since transitional errors, though rare for this specific year, can still occur if older or incorrect planchets are fed into the press, and collectors are always on the lookout for anomalies in weight, color, or composition, particularly since the U.S. Mint changed the composition of pennies in 1982 from 95% copper to a zinc core with a copper plating. And though 1989 coins should follow the zinc standard, finding one mistakenly struck on an older copper planchet, weighing about 3.1 grams instead of the standard 2.5 grams, would be incredibly rare and valuable. And even more desirable would be a 1989 penny struck on a foreign planchet intended for another denomination or country, which sometimes happens when leftover blanks are mixed into U.S. Mint batches, producing coins with incorrect diameter, weight, or metallic composition, all of which are major red flags to numismatists and often require metallurgical testing to confirm, but can result in extremely high auction prices when authenticated. And then there's the always popular struck-through error, which happens when a foreign object like a piece of cloth, string, grease, or metal shavings becomes lodged between the die and the planchet during the strike, leaving behind a distinct impression or void in the coin's design. And these errors are especially interesting because no two struck-through coins are exactly alike, making each one a one-of-a-kind collectible. And adding to the intrigue of the 1989 cent, some collectors have reported examples with partial collars or tilted dies, where the pressure of the strike is uneven, causing the design to be warped or distorted in specific areas of the coin. And although these might not be as instantly recognizable to casual observers, experienced collectors and grading services like PCGS and NGC recognize the premium these unusual shapes and minting irregularities can carry. And, of course, the condition of the coin plays a huge role in its value, with examples in mint state, especially MS-65 or higher, fetching significantly more than circulated examples, particularly if the error is dramatic and well preserved, and even more so if the coin is professionally graded and slabbed, which offers collectors assurance of authenticity and an accurate evaluation of the coin's state and rarity. And speaking of rarity, population reports from top grading services can also influence the desirability of a particular error variety, because if only a handful of coins with a specific 1989 error exist in high grade, their value skyrockets due to supply and demand dynamics in the collecting community. And that's exactly how a single 1989 1-cent coin with a perfect storm of unique errors and preserved condition managed to achieve a value of $723 at auction or in private sale, especially when two or more rare error types appear together on one coin, such as a double die obverse paired with an off-center strike or a struck-through combined with a die chip, and this kind of compounded error coin is the ultimate jackpot for error collectors, representing a perfect storm of minting mistakes that are exceedingly rare and can command intense bidding wars among passionate numismatists. And while most 1989 pennies may be worth just face value, the small percentage that show these kinds of flaws can be worth examining under a loupe or microscope, especially if you are able to spot abnormalities in the text, fields, rims, or reliefs of the coin. And because the Lincoln cent has been struck for so many decades and passed through so many revisions, the potential for variation is vast, and coins from transitional years or high-production mints often carry more chances for minting errors to occur, which is why 1989 remains a year of interest despite not being a major design change year, and the growing awareness among collectors and hobbyists about the value of error coins, boosted by online marketplaces and auction platforms, means that even obscure or previously overlooked coins like this one can find new attention and be sold at significant profits when presented with proper evidence, photographs, and authentication, and collectors are now more educated and equipped with tools to examine and identify these valuable flaws than ever before, making the hunt for these 1989 1-cent errors a dynamic and ever-evolving treasure hunt that's as accessible to newcomers as it is thrilling for seasoned experts. And whether it's a coin you inherited, discovered in circulation, or bought from a dealer, the 1989 penny can be a gateway to the fascinating niche of error coin collecting, where every smudge, misalignment, or unintended shape becomes a story of mechanical imperfection turned numismatic gold. Next, 2013, the Lincoln penny. Deep dive into the hidden world of rare coins where everyday pocket change can sometimes turn out to be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. And today we're exploring one of the most unexpected treasures from recent U.S. coinage history, the 2013 1-cent coin, a modern Lincoln penny minted in Denver that, under the right circumstances, has fetched values up to $332 or more in collector markets, due to a combination of intriguing minting errors, rare varieties, and conditional premiums that make it far more valuable than its humble face value suggests. And whether you're a seasoned collector, a curious beginner, or someone who just wants to know if the change in your jar holds hidden wealth, this story of the 2013 penny will open your eyes to the fascinating possibilities that lie behind the copper-plated zinc coins we so often take for granted. And as always, it all begins with the production process and the potential for mistakes to occur during minting because despite the immense technology and quality control protocols in place at the U.S. Mint, errors can and do happen, especially when millions upon millions of coins are being struck in a very short amount of time, and the Denver Mint alone produced over 4 billion 1-cent coins in 2013, which makes it statistically amazing that a few slipped through with significant mistakes. And when we talk about errors on the 2013 penny, we are referring to both striking errors and planchet errors, as well as potential die varieties that can significantly increase a coin's desirability among collectors. And one of the most talked about error types for this year is the die clash error, which happens when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet in between, leaving behind ghost-like images of one design element on the opposite side of the coin. And in the case of the 2013 cent, collectors have reported clash marks where you can faintly see traces of Lincoln's bust or parts of the shield on the opposite side, depending on where the clash occurred, and such features are highly sought after, especially when the clash is strong and easily visible without magnification, which is rare and adds substantially to the coin's value. And then there's the class of double die errors where the die used to strike the coin has been improperly manufactured, resulting in the doubling of design elements such as letters, numbers, or parts of Lincoln's portrait. And although no major double die has been officially recognized for the 2013 cent by the major grading services, minor doubling and machine doubling have been reported and documented, especially on the date, the motto, "In God we trust," and the word liberty. And while some of these may not add hundreds of dollars in value on their own, strong doubling that gets recognized by collectors can quickly escalate in demand and price, especially if it gets certified by services like PCGS or NGC. And we must not forget off-center strikes, which are another popular and visually dramatic error where the coin is not centered properly during the strike, leading to a partial blank space on one side and misalignment of the design. And for a 2013 D penny, off-center strikes ranging from 10 to 50% are known to exist, and the value increases dramatically with the degree of off-centering, particularly when the date and mint mark remain visible, since this allows collectors to positively identify the coin. And one of the more peculiar and fascinating types of errors that have shown up on 2013 D cents are coins struck on improper planchets, meaning blanks intended for other denominations or entirely different coin types. And there have been rare instances where 2013 D cents were accidentally struck on dime planchets or foreign coin blanks, resulting in coins that are underweight and have design cutoffs at the rim due to the size mismatch. And these wrong planchet errors are extremely rare and valuable, with some examples crossing the $300 mark easily when authenticated. And then we come to the striking anomalies like die breaks, couds, and retained interior die breaks, all of which are caused by deterioration or damage to the dies that strike the coins. And in some 2013 D cents you'll find dramatic die cracks across Lincoln's head, die chips in the letters or numbers, or couds where a piece of the die is broken off completely, leaving a raised blob on the surface of the coin, which collectors often describe by nickname depending on their location and size, like spiked head, beard chip, or crown cud. And some of these dramatic cuds and chips can boost the value of a coin significantly, especially if they are rare for that date and mint combination. And for the 2013 D cent, large die chips and cuds are not common, but they do exist. And when they do, they often fetch strong premiums, especially when in high grade. And speaking of grade, that's another critical element in understanding the value of any coin, because even the most interesting error loses value when the coin is heavily worn, scratched, or damaged. So coins that display these errors in mint state condition, meaning they show no signs of circulation wear, are worth considerably more than their circulated counterparts, and collectors often seek out red-colored copper since the copper plating can dull over time and turn brown or red-brown. And a coin that retains its full original red luster, especially in high mint state grades like MS65 or higher, can command strong premiums, especially when paired with an error. And the 2013 D cent in MS67 red, even without an error, has been sold for over $100 in some cases due to its superb condition and rarity at that high grade. And once an error is factored in, the value climbs even higher depending on demand, appeal, and certification. And then we move to the more obscure varieties that are sometimes overlooked but still generate interest among serious collectors, like die rotation, where the obverse and reverse are not properly aligned when flipped, or missing design elements caused by grease-filled dies, where grease or debris fills part of the die and prevents part of the design from being struck clearly. And while these may seem minor, a well-placed grease-filled die error, such as a missing word or date digit, can capture the attention of variety hunters and command high prices. And while discussing errors is essential, another major reason why the 2013 D cent has gained notoriety and value in some cases is simply due to market demand and the thrill of the hunt, because collectors love the idea of finding something extraordinary in a common item, and modern era coins are an active and growing segment of numismatics. So even coins from recent years can gain momentum in the market when enough people become aware of specific varieties or error types, especially when new discoveries are posted online, on auction sites, or social media platforms that show dramatic examples selling for big money. and sometimes it only takes one viral post or successful auction to ignite a trend and boost prices across the board for coins with similar features. And with more people now paying attention to modern era coins than ever before, the chances of a relatively recent issue like the 2013 D-Cent gaining value are greater than one might assume. And let's not forget the importance of third-party grading and encapsulation by respected companies, which not only protect the coin, but also verify the authenticity of the error and provide an authoritative label that increases buyer confidence and typically boosts final sale prices. And many of the 2013 D-Cents that have sold for several $100s have been certified by PCGS or NGC with labels identifying the specific error, such as off-center strike, struck on dime planchet, or obverse die clash. And such certified coins are frequently listed on auction sites, collector forums, and rare coin shows where they draw considerable attention. And one of the most valuable aspects of collecting these coins is the mystery and excitement of searching through rolls, pocket change, or old jars at home with the hope of finding one of these incredible anomalies. And many collectors have reported finding valuable 2013 D errors through sheer luck and careful inspection using magnifiers, coin scales, and error checklists, proving that with patience and attention to detail, anyone can get lucky and strike numismatic gold. And the beauty of it is that this hobby doesn't require huge upfront investment, just curiosity, education, and the willingness to search.